Greetings everyone, I'm Trevor Saw, your host. Welcome to Readaware Blaxumentary. I'm here with special guest today,
Paul Mohammed, founder of The Money Mob, broadcaster and lifestyle coach.
I'm Christine Addy and I am the co-host of The Business Mix.
And I'm Rachel Palmer, also co-host of The Business Mix Show on Colourful Radio and founder and director of Black Maven, social enterprise supporting other social enterprises.
can you live black? Your everyday life's black?
In a word, no. You can pretty much live about maybe 70%, but not 100%.
I think our experience has shown that, there's certain amounts you can do, but it's not that full weekday kind of experience. You find difficulties.
I would say pretty much, yes, you can't live from 100% black owned businesses. I mean, we pay our mortgage or rent, electricity, who's that going to, utilities.
What other areas do you feel we are lacking as a black community?
Transport is one. I mean, the commute to and from work, even down to Uber, you can't select your driver. We're reliant on certain industries which we are 100% consumers of and not owners.
I think for me, and we were talking earlier, it's more about those cleaning products, things that you can use to clean your house daily, the bleaches, the disinfectants, all that. I to this day haven't found anything that's black owned with those products, so I'd like to see more of those.
Electrical tech stuff, I mean, I know there are few, but definitely not enough. Energy providers, definitely, because I think that energy supply, they cream so much money, and I think unfairly. We have supermarkets, but we want to be able to, we need to control the complete supply chain, so then our supermarkets are bigger, better, and also competitive.
No, because really knows bringing in your products from outside of Europe is more expensive. So are we restricted or in being able to bring in more of our products from outside, from the Caribbean and into Africa because of the tariff prices? Or is it just that we are not trying to push the boundaries or push it out further to be able to bring in more stock from our home countries?
One is that tariffs are really hard, very high. We don't necessarily control the supply chain completely. There are other communities in our countries that also control our supply chain from our original countries. So we need to create a situation that governments really, in those countries, really support their community and make sure that we have equal substances just like anyone else, and also in regards to logistics and also shipping, they play a greater part in regards to making sure that we have a fairer rate in regards to that. When it comes to our own shopping and eating habits, I was at a embassy doing a business. It was a business gathering, and one of the things that was said is that our eating habits, especially as black people, become much more westernized. So a lot of the food that we're also consuming are now we're taking a much more of a Western diet. So there's much less of a call for some of the products that that originally would come from the continent as well as the Caribbean.
Yeah, we should have more control from beginning to end of the supply chain of certain products and services. For example, talking about tech, and we're not necessarily manufacturing, and I think for me that's where it starts. It starts with the owning of the raw materials in order to produce the products, in order to then distribute and sell, and in that sense. Where I can't guarantee that an item has been sourced from beginning to end, it's a black owned item, I might purchase the laptop, which I know has been mass produced elsewhere, from a black retailer. You know, that's what I would try and do. If I'm looking to change my gas and electric, I'll go to a broker, you know, a black broker of, you know, in that. So I'll try and jump into the supply chain somewhere where, okay, we know that I guess the person at the top that's receiving most of that income is not within our community, but it's still being filtered in somehow, yeah.
I think I saw that kind of discussion in one of the Facebook platforms where a young girl was saying, I've started up a business, all hair and beauty products, please buy from me. And I think there was some backlash about, you know, these products aren't all black, so why are you doing this? And I think it's just that point of entry, really.
Yeah.
At least we're starting from somewhere. I would rather buy from my hair products from a black-owned shop, business, rather than go to a neighbouring Asian shop. I would prefer that. So it's that starting point, as Rachel and Paul was saying, it's that starting point of entry that we shouldn't be arguing about that. We should be starting somewhere, and that's a start.
So this hair product owner, if they've got their products which isn't a black produced product, but the Asian shop will have the black produced, would that make any difference in your buying decision?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I hadn't thought about that. I would.
Well, any of you, would
Yeah,
it make a
I'm
difference?
to
So it's
let
not
the
the same as when
panellists
you
talk
said
before
about the laptop.
Yeah.
You know it's not a black manufactured,
Yeah.
but you will go to a black seller.
Yeah. So.
Would it make any difference if?
You know, if it's a non-black seller, I would be okay with purchasing it, because I know that actually the ownership, and for me that's what's really important, the ownership of the resources, the ownership of the product, the ownership it's black owned from the start. So the way that I would kind of, you know, rationalise it in my mind is that actually the majority of the profits is actually going back to that owner, and the retailer is obviously creaming a bit off the top. And especially if you factor price into it as well, if you factor, well, actually the black owned product that's being sold by someone outside of the community costs more than the non-black owned product which is sold by a retailer within our community. Like, then that even throws another spanner in the works. It's like, ooh, okay, how much am I really gonna go black today? That's things that I think they're real issues that we come up against, and we're gonna keep coming up against them. So sometimes it's just about kind of biting the bullet and taking a stand and saying, no, do you know what? I know it's a £10 more or whatever it is, but it's not just about because I want a laptop, because a lot of my purchases, I have to think deeper than that. It's not just because, oh, I want to buy a journal. Actually, it's because I want to invest in our entrepreneurs and I want to invest in our economy at the same time. So there's an added layer for me, rather than, oh, well, we need milk or we need bread. No, actually, we need to invest in our economies, and we need to reinvest into black-owned businesses. Because I feel if we don't do it, if we're not at the start of it, then nobody else, who else is going to do it?
When you say the we, let's break that down and say, is that we as in the consumer side, or is that we in terms of the fellow other business owners or investors?
It takes a village. Do you know what I mean? It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to grow a business at the end of the day. So it can't just be like the owner investment side of it. Okay, then I still feel that we have a responsibility as a community to reinvest in that business. And sometimes as well, I think we should be clear that supporting a black business isn't always just about purchasing and finance and a financial transaction. Supporting a black business is telling someone, oh, I bought this book, Murray the Milkman. Oh, you really need to get a series, or sharing it with someone, putting it on your social media. Supporting a black business is giving feedback to a business about, I really enjoyed your product, or actually, if you did this, I think it would make the customer experience so much better. Supporting a black business, sometimes we get so caught up on spending, which is important, but there are other ways. So I don't want people to feel as well that, because I haven't purchased anything from a black business, that you feel kind of outside of the loop and I'm not supporting black businesses. Have you told your friends? Have you told your family? Can you recommend somebody? Can you put it up on your social media? Join a black business Facebook group and put all the black businesses that you know in there, or whatever it might be. Tag a black business that you know. Support is a lot more wide-ranging, and investment as well is a lot more wide-ranging.
So I used to always think it's more than just putting a hashtag, but off the back of what you're saying, if you can't afford to purchase or support a business, then the next best thing is the hashtag or put it on your social media, right? But from a business owner's side, they'll probably think they need the monetary side.
I always think the best marketing is word of mouth. Like, if Chrissy or Paul had told me, do you know what, you need this product, I drink this in single water and it is great, it's fantastic, it's really easy to find, or it ships really quickly, the customer service is great, I'm gonna buy that more than what I would if I just walked past it and I knew that it was a black woman. I just feel that recommendations is really, really important. Word of mouth recommendations. And we need to get into the habit of doing that more, because when something doesn't go right in a black business, oh gosh, everybody knows. Everyone knows about how bad or poor a customer service was. So when things are good, I feel like we need to go over and above the amount and make more noise than what we would do if it was a bad service.
And if Rachel's not going to buy it, I could buy it. So if Rachel hasn't got it, I could be the one who buy it, and then I may tell someone else who they may buy it. So the business person the entrepreneur may think they may miss that, but somewhere along it's going to be picked up somewhere. So I think that mindset also needs to change. It all works for your good. It's all about supporting, and it's all about that investment switch.
What would be better? I always think, would you rather someone who just buys your product once and is not really your customer, over someone who actually, I can't buy it now, so let me share it, but actually I'm a fan, I'm of your tribe, so when I can, I'm going to continue to buy it. Would you rather that type of customer, or just like a one-off purchaser?
If that one-off purchaser ended up sharing the product to others, that would be a helpful thing. But what if the product was not UK based? Would that make any difference in your purchasing pattern decisions? Or I can't get a product in UK, or I can't find it here, but I can find it online in the US or in Africa.
I mean, I buy makeup quite frequently, and I do buy outside of UK.
Okay.
I buy London, but I think my bugbear is always that cost of it coming in, and it's the shipping, and then you pay an additional amount on tax, and I think that's what stops me from doing that. So as much as I would want to say yes, I would continuously do that, I find it really hard to spend that extra on the postage packaging plus the taxes on top.
You touched on a bit on a few areas that was missing. What industries do you feel that we can, as a community, capitalise on?
Our big things is hair, food. These are our mainstay, as well as entertainment.
But we're more than just those areas.
Absolutely, and that's the contention, is the fact that there are some fantastic businesses up and out there doing some really, really, really great things, and it's about trying to make sure we advertise and and let the world know that there's other people in our community doing some really, really fantastic kind of things.
Actually, do you know what? I've just thought of one thing which we use constantly every day, which means we've all failed the Buy Black Challenge, and that is telecommunications, broadband, your website hosting, all of that, I mean, we use that constantly every day. I didn't even think about that until you just answered, Paul. Like, I don't know what the barriers to entry into that type of market are. I don't know what the kind of setup costs are, but that is something that, you know, people. I heard about, there was the young boy who ran that from his bedroom. Do you remember? He spent £50,000 on his mum's credit card. A young guy, it was years ago, and he basically set up the first fibre optic on his road for his neighbours, and ended up selling his business for however many £1 million. But what's the setup? What's the investment fees to start to have broadband? I don't know.
Is there any other areas that you guys think that we are lacking that we can capitalise on? Because I think that's a great example of the technology.
And you don't even think about it.
We just take advantage of it because it's just there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But is there any other areas that you would think?
I think also space. I'm in a great place here. Impact Brixton literally is fine, but I mean, apart from spaces like this, you can't find a square meter where we actually can use to add our own. And I think it's got worse and worse as the years have gone. I remember 15 years ago there were places that you could go, spaces that you could use, even if you just go out and have a little rave. Those areas are now they're gone, they're defunct, been taken over, or something. So I think also actual spaces and areas that we can actually use to now do certain things.
And as landlords, not
exactly as a landlord,
Yeah.
as opposed to a tenant.
Yeah.
So someone can raise the rent and then you're home.
So is that a thing that we are lacking in? Like, we do not own our own bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
And I think lots of people are trying to get to that and kind of build what
they're just finding blockages.
Yeah.
There's always oh no, we can't. You can't have that space, or no, you can't buy that because whatever the reason is, or no, you can't keep that dance in there.
That's correct.
Because whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Sorry, we're not going to accept you as a tenant because
right.
we don't like whatever the smell of your food or whatever it is.
There's always a reason
Yeah, absolutely.
to block ourselves.
Which is why group economics, when it comes to property, we always talk about back in the day, partner, but that's how a lot of our parents and grandparents got onto the property ladder, is group economics. And it wasn't called group economics back then. It was just common sense. Do you know what I mean? There's 7 families living in here. We're not all going to be able to stay here. Well, let's everybody put a little bit in, and then it's your turn, and then next year it's your turn, and next year it's your turn.
But that's where I think sometimes we stop ourselves. The group again, I've seen on many platforms, I think there was an empty little building and someone said, let's all get together and buy this building. There was a conference it's about trust. Do we trust each other enough to put our money in collaboratively so we can buy that piece of land or we can buy that building together? And I think that's what always is also a stopping block, because we could buy these properties if people, all of us, put a bit of money into the building it was a huge building, I can't remember what it was, and we can all see how we can use it, but it's about the trust, how do we direct that really? And it's that leadership.
We had the reparations march. Like, if everybody on that march put in £1,
absolutely.
What would we have?
Absolutely.
That's right.
So maybe, it's like, to take part in the march, you gotta give £1, brother or sister, and see what happens.
Absolutely.
But then it will kind of come on to who would
Who
lead
owns
it.
that?
Yeah, it's that
Who
leadership.
will be
Yeah.
in front.
Absolutely.
And there's always, and it's not, I don't think, it's not just restricted to the black community, because that's something that I find quite jarring as well.
That's right.
There's always infighting between
That's
communities and people,
That's correct.
especially where money and finances are concerned, because money and finances are synonymous with power. So there's always going to be a struggle. It matters not, it happens within families, much less the broader black community. So that's something that would have to be thought out well in advance with a lot of kind of risk assessment and etc. But just the idea and the premise that actually there is enough money within our community to do these things, should the structural kind of barriers be taken out of play. Sometimes we have a lot more power and resources than we're using at the moment.
Exactly.
Which can be a frustration. It's understandable as to why, but it can be a frustration sometimes.